making sure that the community is
well served.
Is well served and isn't too rowdy.
Hi everyone, this is Alex for Rivetz, aka Fluffy. I'm here with Amy Vernon, Vice President of Community for Rivetz. Amy, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I am from New York and I've lived in Chicago and South Florida and even Kentucky and Arizona. And I spent about 20 years as a journalist. Got into the social media world through Dig and ended up over the last few years working at various startups, doing a lot of freelance writing. I've been building community for a long time for a variety of different kinds of companies. And now I'm doing it here at Rivetz.
And when did you get involved with blockchain?
I guess officially really when I started with Rivetz, but I've been following it for the last several years. I first became aware of it actually with Bitcoin back in the Dig days when people started talking about this currency that you know seemed awfully pretend. You know, everybody was just like, it's this digital currency and it's not backed by anything, and everybody was kind of like, what? And then Dogecoin came out, and we were like, okay, now this really is all pretend. But you know, obviously there was some there, and so I've just sort of watched it over the years, and you know, been interested in the technology, and it's gotten really interesting, I think, in the last couple of years as there have been more ways to use the technology as opposed to there just being, you know, a currency around it. But right. You know, like Ethereum with the smart contracts, it's like, oh, like that's something that can be used for. It's like a thing, and and after going to Miami Bitcoin and seeing, you know, the folks working with the Red Cross in the Netherlands for digital identity in disaster-prone areas, and seeing a lot of this stuff, there's great use cases of it. So that's been really exciting, and that's been, I'd say, where it's really piqued my interest in the last couple of years when that's started to come out.
Can you tell us how your average day looks like at Rivetz?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I start off, I check while my kids are eating breakfast, I actually peek in on Discord and Telegram and hold my breath that everything's been good overnight. So I'm just sort of like checking on my ride into work. I'm checking all the various channels, just seeing what's going on, making sure that the community is well served. Is well served and isn't too rowdy. You know, a lot of the day involves talking to a lot of people in the company and out of the company to sort of gather the information that I need to do what I need to do, figuring out what kind of blog posts, figuring out where Stephen is going and what videos we need to get edited and do stuff with, working with I work probably most closely with product, just because the products affect my life deeply, because they're what I can take to the community and say, this is what's happening. So, you know, it's very fluid, and there's no typical day, but in a sense, every day is similar because I'm doing the same things. It's just in various orders, and some days there's more meetings than others, and some days I am sitting, once in a while I'm sitting alone in the office and I'm just like writing all day.
Right.
But it's a lot of just sort of like just checking and feeling the pulse of people and seeing what's going on and what issues we need to address.
Right. And sometimes you're outside, on the move and still working.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, right. I'm on my phone. You know, it's like when I'm in a tunnel, it's kind of great. Like half of my ride home, I'm actually underground. So it's kind of good because it's like I can't be, so I have to just sort of, then I just sort of end up playing some stupid game on my phone instead. So I should just read.
So what is your favorite thing about your job, and what do you wish could be different?
Honestly, I think my favorite thing is sort of working with the community when, you know, when there are great suggestions that come through or questions that are really interesting. Yesterday on Discord, someone asked a really, really interesting question that I thought I kind of knew the answer to, but I actually went to Sean, the VP of Engineering, and Michael, the CTO, and asked them for their feedback because I wanted to make sure I was getting it right. But it was like a really interesting technical question, and the fact that I wasn't able to answer it easily was just like, oh, but this is something I should know. And actually both Sean and Michael said that it was an excellent question. It was basically, how if one app, meaning our trusted application, can access the T, how come others can't? And it's through attestation and everything. But as I said, I wanted to check with them to make sure I was getting it right, just to make sure. But it's a question I don't think anyone had asked before. So that's actually like really kind of fun when someone asks something that we haven't answered a million times. And not that there's anything wrong with answering questions a million times. People aren't there 24/7 and don't necessarily see when we answer questions.
Right.
But it's really kind of cool when people are asking about things that nobody has asked about before, and it just sort of makes you stop and think and be like, I think I know this, but let me make sure I actually do know this.
Exactly.
One thing I wish I could change, I mean, honestly, it's like there are days, and you all know, it's like this past week with the whole exchange issue, it's just like, we'll share the information and we love you all. And we just, some days, I'll admit, I felt a little beat up this week. I just felt a little beat up this week, but it's okay.
Happens to the best of us.
I survived.
What are the cool things you are working on that is going to add value to our community?
Yeah, well, there are a few things. We're actually studying some potential interesting, not bounty programs necessarily, but some programs that we might be able to do with the community that would involve exchange of tokens. We're not exactly sure. We want to do something different. And of course I have to get approval for that first, so I'm not promising anything. But also we're working out a whole content calendar, and in addition are going to start up our newsletter soon. We're going to get opt-in from everyone who wants to be receiving the newsletter, and really starting to share on a more consistent basis what's happening on a weekly or monthly basis here. And I think that will help the community a lot, just sort of like see a lot of the other things that maybe we're not talking about all the time and don't in and of themselves, each of them aren't worth, making a whole announcement on, but sharing it all as a story in a newsletter is a different thing.
Right, yes, exactly. And what do you like most about Rivetz, and what do you think is our biggest asset?
Well, honestly, I think it's the team. It's a really interesting team. Everybody has very different skills and is like tops in those skills. I mean, they really know what they're doing. And that's really great. I've been in a lot of places where that's not necessarily the case, where, some people on the team are amazing and then others are just like, what? But here, really the team is very solid, and, everyone has their own specialty. I mean, Greg, who is in engineering apps, built the 2FA app, as a matter of fact, has a PhD in math. It's like, that's really cool. And so like, there's just like this big brain in there that actually has like nothing to do. I mean, obviously I think being good in math helps in coding, but it's not like a direct line from having this PhD in math to doing coding. So it's really cool to see those amazing skills people have that also maybe don't immediately inform the work they do, but definitely makes them better at what they do. Right.
Yeah, I share that view with you actually. So is there anything you'd like to share that you feel I haven't asked?
Not really, except that I have a very cute Siberian Husky who everybody loves, and she's very pretty, and she runs around a lot.
Great. You should actually share a picture of her.
I'll share after this video comes out, and you all hear that. I'll share one of my Zoomy videos because she like runs around like a maniac in my backyard. It's great.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for the interview, Amy, and thank you everyone for watching. This is Fluffy signing out for Rivetz.